You want to hear a juicy conspiracy theory? I'm not really a conspiracy theorist myself, but sometimes things just make too much sense, or none at all. In case you don't know, my name is Cameron, and I'm getting my PhD in biomedical engineering, but I make straightforward civic education content for normal people and for people who just aren't into politics like that. Before I get started, I want to say that I love my life and I have never been suicidal. So, this conspiracy theory starts with arguably the most influential man in the world that most people have never heard of, Steve Bannon. So, Steve Bannon was Trump's 2016 campaign CEO and his chief strategist. Now, I would argue that Steve Bannon is not a good guy, but that is not just my opinion.
We're not going to surrender. We're not going to quit. Fight, fight, fight. Amen.
He has publicly repeated that his main political strategy is to flood the zone with shit.
Flood the zone was my idea. If you go back and look at the PBS thing, I'm sitting there going, yeah, we're going to flood the zone. We have like 2 or 3 things every day, right? It's a misdirection play. Hell, we got 12 or 15 every day now.
Meaning that in order for Trump to win the presidency and to do things that most people would be against, the campaign and the Trump administration would have to overwhelm people with so much drama, content, and conflicting information that we can no longer make sense of things or tell what's true anymore. But before he was Trump's chief strategist, he was vice president and board member of Cambridge Analytica from 2014 to 2016. Cambridge Analytica was a company that unlawfully stole data from 87 million Facebook users without their consent in order to build psychological profiles for political targeting. A whistleblower who helped build it called it a tool for psychological warfare and said that Bannon wanted weapons for a culture war. That's probably a whole other video, but for now, what you should understand is that this is a man who thinks in terms of power through information warfare and manipulation. And it just keeps getting worse. For instance, he organized a crowdfunding campaign where he promised Trump's supporters that he would take their money and help build Trump's border wall at the US-Mexico border. And then he just took $1 million for him and his friends' own benefit. Then he was arrested and indicted for fraud in 2020 by Trump's own Department of Justice, but then Trump pardoned him because sometimes loyalty is more important than the law. And even worse than all that, and really where the conspiracy starts, is that he was friends with Jeffrey Epstein. Apparently, Bannon spent months at Epstein's homes in Manhattan and Paris in 2018 and 2019, filming around 15 hours of interviews with him for a pro-Epstein documentary that has never come out. Nor have the interviews. But he wasn't just interviewing him. Bannon was coaching Epstein on media strategy, trying to help him figure out how to fix his public image. Basically running PR for a convicted sex offender. Now here's where it gets really interesting, but first I have to tell you about Michael Wolff. Michael Wolff is, I hesitate to say a journalist, but around 2016, 2017, he had unusually free, loosely supervised access to the Trump campaign, the transition, and especially the West Wing of the White House during much of Trump's first term in office, plus extensive interview access to senior staff and other associates. Weirdly enough, he was also friends with Epstein. We found out in the newly released emails that, like Bannon, he also offered Epstein strategic guidance about how to handle potential media scrutiny. And he says that when Bannon first engaged with Epstein, Bannon told Epstein, "You were the only person I was afraid of during the 2016 campaign." According to Wolff, Bannon believed that Epstein had dangerous secrets about Trump, especially about Trump and women, and that if those came out at the wrong time, it could have destroyed the campaign. Now, Bannon's lawyer denies this and says that Wolff is lying, but neither one of these guys is the most trustworthy, so you can believe whoever you prefer. My question would be, why would Steve Bannon be afraid of Epstein ruining Trump's campaign? Here's what the public knows. We know that Trump and Epstein were extremely close from the late 80s to the early 2000s. They partied together. There's tons of pictures and video of them together. And we've all heard about the quote from Trump in 2002 where he said, "I've known Jeff for 15 years and he's a terrific guy. He's a lot of fun to be with. And it's even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do. And many of them are on the younger side." We know that they had a falling out around 2004, reportedly over a real estate deal, but Trump later claimed that he banned Epstein from Mar-a-Lago, though those details are murky. So when Bannon supposedly says that Epstein was the only person who could sink Trump, He could have meant that there's something more sinister about the Epstein-Trump connection that the public doesn't know about. Or maybe he could have just been worried about the media spinning the story to make Trump look bad. I couldn't tell you. But here's a new piece of the puzzle that we just got access to with those newly released emails. In a December 2015 email, Wolf told Epstein that CNN was planning to ask Trump about his relationship with Epstein during an upcoming debate, essentially warning Epstein that he might end up in the news and that journalists might be contacting him for his comment after the debate. Epstein replied about crafting a potential answer, and Wolf advised Epstein that he should let Trump hang himself, suggesting that if Trump denied being on Epstein's plane or at his house, that Epstein would gain valuable PR and political currency to hang him later or save him, generating a debt from Trump to Epstein. And for context, you have to remember that in 2015, Epstein was a free man. The general public didn't really know who he was until 2018, when the Miami Herald published a series looking into why he got a lenient plea deal and that non-prosecution agreement. And then most people heard about him in 2019 when he was arrested. I gave a very simple breakdown of the whole Epstein saga up to the point that he was arrested in a recent video. It's about 7 minutes long, and it explains a lot of background information if you're interested. In that video, I explained how Alex Acosta was a district attorney in 2008 who gave Epstein and all potential co-conspirators federal immunity for their crimes. Co-conspirators who have never even had to be named. If you didn't know, Trump appointed Alex Acosta to his cabinet in 2017, and Acosta stepped down only days after Epstein's arrest in 2019. So Trump says that he cut ties with Epstein way back in the mid-2000s. But if that's true, why are people in Trump's inner circle still so connected to Epstein all these years later? Why is Bannon coaching Epstein through a PR crisis while being one of the most influential voices in Trump's world? Why did Epstein and Michael Wolff seem to think that Epstein had leverage over the president? Was there ever some kind of deal negotiated? Did Epstein try to demand anything? Did he threaten to talk? Why did he give this answer to a deposition in 2010?
Have you ever socialized with Donald Trump in the presence of females under the age of 18?
Though I'd like to answer that question, at least today, I'm going to have to assert my 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendment rights, sir.
How did the guy who gave Epstein the deal of a lifetime end up in Trump's cabinet? Why did he grant immunity to potential co-conspirators unless there were some? And who were they? I'm just asking questions. So let's talk about that 2019 arrest. Epstein gets charged with federal sex trafficking in New York. Real charges this time, and he's arrested on July 6th. On July 23rd, he is found injured in his cell with marks on his neck, and then he's briefly put on suicide watch and then taken off. On August 10th, only a month after his arrest, he's found dead, hanged in his cell. The medical examiner calls it a suicide, even though he has broken bones in places more consistent with strangulation than someone hanging themselves. Then we find out that guards falsified their logs, cameras near his cell mysteriously malfunctioned, and standard procedures were not followed.
There's so many things that are suspicious. You can sing it with me. Here we go. Suspicious as fuck.
You don't even have to believe that someone ordered a hit on Epstein to see how incredibly convenient all this is for a lot of very powerful people. And it happened twice. Injured the first time, and the next time he was dead, and nobody saw anything either time. So, did Epstein kill himself?
I guess we'll never know.
Now fast forward to this year. It's Trump's second term. For years, Trump and his administration's top officials hyped Epstein's client list. They promised that they'd release all the files and expose everyone. Then this year, his Department of Justice releases a memo saying that there is no client list and that there is no evidence of organized blackmail. They guarantee us that Epstein died by suicide, and they say that they're not releasing any more files. So the people who spent years promising to expose everything are now saying that there is nothing to see. And then there's Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's partner, who was convicted of sex trafficking in 2021 and sentenced to 20 years in prison. She started at a low security prison in Florida. Then, this summer, she was transferred to a minimum security camp in Texas with way more relaxed conditions and unusually favorable treatment after a 2-day meeting with Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, who, by the way, was Trump's personal lawyer up until last year. And now Maxwell is asking for a pardon from Trump, who keeps refusing to rule out giving her one. So let me connect all these dots. If anyone was involved in abusing minors and women with Epstein, they should absolutely be investigated, Democrat or Republican. But here's what's actually happening. Trump's administration is focused on Democratic-aligned people in Epstein's orbit, while Republican-aligned people with deep Epstein connections either get cabinet jobs, pardons, or better prison conditions. So here's my question. Are all these people working behind his back to protect wealthy elites while he's fighting for regular people? Because if that's true, that's a Watergate-level scandal just on the betrayal alone. Or does Trump know exactly what's happening? Is the populist president actually protecting the very elites that his supporters think that he's fighting? I don't claim to know what's in the sealed Epstein files or exactly who did what. But when Trump's own strategist supposedly says that Epstein was the only person who could destroy the campaign, and when that same strategist coaches Epstein on survival tactics, and when the guy who protected Epstein gets a cabinet job, and when Maxwell gets special treatment after meeting with Trump's lawyer, and when the DOJ suddenly says there's nothing to investigate after years of promises, it's not crazy to ask, what are they so desperate to protect? Feel free to come up with your own theory. Thanks for watching.
Hey MTV, welcome to our crib.
That took me a
We
lot
got
of
Winston
taste.
out here. Look at this. Pure dog.
Yeah.
Sorry. Kiss him. Say hi. We're famous now.
Okay.
Come on, my Alright, bring your toy. Peace. Viva Venezuela.